For Katie, Alec Baldwin in the news for reasons he doesn't want to be in the news. Typically, he's in the news for reasons he don't want to be, but a tragedy on the movie set. He's filming a movie called Rust, and he was handed a gun. They say this is a cold gun. They have all these facilitators and gun experts on these movie sets, which means there's no live ammunition, or there should be blanks.
It's a blank, correct.
But apparently there wasn't a blank in there, and it had some sort of live ammunition, and he shot the gun, killed somebody that worked on the set, and injured the director pretty badly as well. And so Alec Baldwin was like, oh my gosh, it's tragedy and all this stuff. But now people are blaming other people, and where this happened, I believe the DA is not ruling out pressing charges.
Mm-hmm.
And against who now? Alec?
That's the question. There could be I don't know the answer to that. That's why we have our official.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead, Jason.
I heard, and I don't know how much is accurate. Maybe you know more. Stuff is going to come out of this. Why was there a live gun? Why was I heard they were actually shooting the guns before this happened, shooting at bottles and stuff. So they knew there was a possibility that these guns could be real and loaded.
Right.
Like, why were they shooting? There should be, in my opinion, never a live gun on a set of a movie that uses guns as props.
Right. That's scary to me. I've always thought, because in some movies, clearly they're using live ammunition, like shooting at like a target or whatever. You see the shells coming out.
It can't be animated?
I don't know. Everything I've read is that there's scenarios where they do use live ammunition, but never with other people they're shooting at.
Right.
They'll be at some other thing, or they have real explosions in movies, and they have all these technicians and safety coordinators and all that type of stuff. You see what I'm saying? But they wouldn't actually explode a real person. But yeah, so a tragedy for the person that lost their life. We'd have our official attorney, Lisa Lanier, on. Good morning, Lisa.
Hey, good morning. Yeah, what a tragic situation. And Alec Baldwin seems, obviously, as he should be, very upset about it. But it's unlikely that he will face criminal charges, being the person who was handed the gun, no way of knowing that it was actually containing live rounds, as you said. And, the two people that touched the gun prior to him was this woman, Hannah Gutierrez Reed, who was supposed to be their armory expert. But apparently what I've heard is that she really is not an arms expert and really doesn't know anything about guns, and how in the world that she got to be called the arms expert. And so there was already an incident about 2 weeks prior where someone was handed a gun and told that it did not contain live rounds, and it did. So this was not the first time it had happened on the set. The other person that touched the gun was Assistant Director Dave Halls, and he's the one that yelled out cold gun without checking. And normally on a set, there are lots of checks and balances, and you don't normally yell out cold gun without checking. You don't assume, because what had happened was Hannah Gutierrez Reed had set up a tray with these 3 weapons on it in the morning. Then everybody on the whole set left for lunch. They went off-site for lunch. They came back, and Alec Baldwin, he wasn't actually filming a scene. He was just rehearsing the gun draw and the shoot. He was just practicing. And it's a scene where he actually points the gun at the camera. That's why the cinematographer was in harm's way.
Oh.
And so he wasn't just willy-nilly just pointing it at somebody for fun. He had a point. He was supposed to be pointing the gun at the camera. And they use live, like you said, they sometimes use live ammunition on set, because what I've understood is that when they don't, that the recoil, it just doesn't look right. Like you can tell that it's not a real gun, and that people who know can really tell. And there's just some situations where there's really no substitute for that, not a digital or not a blanks. But so when they yell cold gun, that is actually supposed to be completely empty, even of blanks.
Right.
Because, blanks can still kill people and hurt people. They're just not as deadly as a real live round. So they're not supposed to yell cold gun. So, I think the issue is this. The standard for criminal negligence to rise to the level of manslaughter in New Mexico is a really, really high bar. So they're going to have to find that it would probably be either this supposed, arms expert or the assistant director were so grossly negligent. It would be sort of the analogy is like, if you drive down the road and, you run a stop sign or something and you kill somebody, you hit them so hard you kill them. You're probably not going to face a manslaughter charge out of that because it was an accident. You were distracted or something. You weren't familiar with the neighborhood. Whatever. But if you had like 20 beers before and then you got in the car and everybody was saying, no, you can't drive, then you are going to face a manslaughter charge, because that's that idea of that criminal recklessness. You went beyond a mere accident.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they're going to be looking at here with this shooting on the set is, was this a very unfortunate accident, or was this that kind of like, I drank 10 beers kind of thing and got in the car?
Well,
Was
Lisa, your analogy about the car and the drinking is the same analogies I just compare it to what I've heard from the set is that they were shooting these guns like drinking, but they were shooting those guns before, like an hour before. They were all shooting them outside. So it's obvious that there was live rounds and guns, and they never even checked. So I just thought that it just seems suspicious to me that there's live rounds. They're shooting.
Mm-hmm.
They were like on a movie set. Do they normally just randomly shoot bottles for fun an hour before? That's what I'm hearing it happen. And then all of a sudden,
probably not.
There's a live gun on the set. I mean, that seems neglect to the fullest extent. If you have, and then you just say cold gun after
it didn't check.
It didn't even check. Now, if I was an actor, I would check myself. Now,
Right.
I didn't realize that a lot of the times that they were. I thought it was always fake guns almost.
Yeah.
Well, and in our industry, which is totally different, but we rely on like intern Squidward for certain things. We know he's imperfect, but he's not dealing with loaded ammunition.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So is there could it be overall the whole whoever's backing the picture, the movie could be in trouble because they actually got a gun expert who's not an expert. They kind of put someone in a role that they're not comfortable with. And they just said, okay.
Right. I mean, that's most assuredly going to happen. So you're most assuredly going to see civil lawsuits come out. Now, that's very different than the criminal that we're talking about. But yes, you absolutely are going to see civil lawsuits, and that's where Alec Baldwin has a lot of vulnerability because he was the producer. So he wasn't just the star; he was the producer.
Oh.
So he is most assuredly going to be sued for millions of dollars because this cinematographer that he accidentally killed was this really hot rising star in the film industry, because basically a wrongful death action is all about the future earning capacity of the person that died. And her future earning capacity was millions and millions because she was the best. And so that's where he's really going to face huge civil liability, I think, because there's no doubt, like you're saying, there's no doubt there was negligence. The arms expert wasn't an arms expert, and you had people firing live rounds on the set. There were, you had the prior incident 2 weeks before, and there was also a walkout. The film crew had walked out just shortly before this happened. And I don't know if safety was, they said that maybe there was something about their housing or their pay, but they also, some of them have complained about the safety on the set. So I think the set and the shoot was fraught with problems, and that's where we're going to see the civil liability.
That's what I was going to ask you. So Alec Baldwin, probably no chance of any criminal thing for him personally.
Civil.
It would be very unlikely.
Just
because
likely.
somebody hands you a gun, you're doing your job, somebody hands you the gun, they tell you it's okay. They were the person that should have checked before they handed it to you. And so if anybody faces it, I think it's going to either be the arms expert or the assistant director who said cold gun. But again, I don't think their behavior in that moment, especially the assistant director, didn't rise to the level of criminal culpability. Although they say that on the set, you are supposed to check, and the person who is being handed the gun or who's going to be fired you're fired in their direction, according to the union Screen Actors Guild, their rules, that person should be allowed to watch the gun either be loaded or dry fired, depending on the situation, to be assured what type of ammunition is in it. And that didn't happen either.
And I can see that, though, in Alec Baldwin's defense, and of course a tragedy, but he's been acting for 40 years. He's been in plenty of movies where he shot guns. This has never happened before. So when someone says cold gun, he's probably, all right, and they're shooting, they probably do the scenes, rehearsing all over and over and over again, where things start to become routine, and then you start skipping steps, and you can see where this happens. I didn't know that he'd be facing personal.
I'm not a huge fan of him. I think he's hot-tempered.
Yeah.
But I do feel bad for him, too, because he basically had to talk to the husband and the kid of the tragedy and talk to him. And, basically he knows he just took away a mom and a wife.
Right.
And he's talking to them, apologizing and grieving with them. That's a horrible situation, knowing you just took away somebody's mom and wife, and it was you that did it, although you didn't mean to do it. That's a horrible. So I feel for him on that.
Yeah, even an accident.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have trauma with that, and of course.
Of course.
The people who lost their mom and the lady who lost her life, obviously, too. It's a terrible, terrible situation. As always, she's great. Official attorney of Jared and Katie in the Morning, Lisa Lanier. If you're ever injured on the job, contact her right away at hireaheavyweight.com.